All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Comix Asylum Live with Steve and Jay. I'm here with Scott and with Eric, and we're going to chop it up. We got a lot of things to talk about, including their books and some pretty interesting news that we're talking about before we even hopped on tonight. So, Eric, Scott, how are you guys?
Good. Awesome.
Doing well.
Busy
Perfect.
as always.
Perfect. So let's just hop into it. You guys are comic book creators extraordinaire.
Thank you.
Tell us what you guys are working on right now.
Scott, you take it away.
Yeah. Okay. Eric and I, a couple months ago, started chatting. And I threw a whole bunch of stories at him, and I'm like, "Read these. Tell me what you think." And what started out as just, seeing what his thoughts are. He read everything, and he's like, "I want to do all of them." So
yeah.
From that, we kind of sat down, had a coffee, picked one out, and there was a story that it was a bunch of short stories that I had written with my son Ashton. That was like the idea was like to see if I could write short stories, 6-page shorts, and that. And we came up with starting working on that, and Monster of the Abyss was the first one that we were working on. So
nice.
there's like
hold up again.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
that's a great cover.
It was a fun cover to make.
It's so awesome, and inadvertently, unknown, Eric made the bed look like a mouth. You got like the curtains are eyes, and then if you look really close, you can see the boy's hands, and it looks like nostrils.
Right.
So it absolutely awesome. I so pleased with it. It's such a fun story. We really wanted to step into this kids horror, kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's, the Bendy and the Ink Machine, and this totally hits it.
That's great. So, Eric, what can you tell us about the story without being too spoilery?
I'll try not to spoil it too much. First, I'll say that most of my work is quite bouncy and like cute and cartoony. So when Scott brought this to me, I was like, horror? Oh no. And having mostly worked in digital, this was my first book. I thought I'm going to go full traditional for it, at least for the inks, sorry. So I wanted this rough, dark look. But the story is about a kid named Joe who gets a doll for his birthday. And his name is Sleepy Joe the doll. So this new doll that comes out at a store called Petopia. And, having the time of their lives, having a blast. This doll and kid are having, this is the perfect relationship, right, of kid and toy. Until one night, this doll gets to see what's under the bed. I won't say much more than that, but some creepy stuff. And this doll, who is actually the main character, is going to go through some stuff for the next few issues. This isn't just one book. Is it 5, Scott?
I want to say there's about 15, but
okay. I only know 5.
Original, the original short stories were there's 4 total, and when I wrote them, they were only like 6 pages each. Mm-hmm. Eric was able to take what I had and he built it out into 14 pages, and it really tells the story so great.
It was a good way to experiment. This was very new for me at the time, and I appreciate, Scott, thank you again. I've told you a million times, thank you, for me to be able to, step out of my comfort zone with this in my inking style. And like you said, you wrote 6 pages, but I ended up storyboarding 14 because I really wanted the art to be able to tell a story, just as itself. So it was a good way to experiment with that. And like I said, to get a little creepier with my work. So this is about, the main character is a doll who gets to see this sort of creepy evil under the bed, unknown to the kid, of course. So it was really fun to work on. I can't wait to do the next.
Sweet. And so, Scott, is this from your mind? Because I know you've got like titles like mad under your imprint.
Actually, so over COVID, Ashton, and Hayden, my two boys, they spent a lot of time in their bedroom with stuffies, and they had like all of these worlds built up and that. And while they were doing that, I was sitting in the background writing down all these stories that they were telling inside, and then I kind of built out from that. Sleepy Joe was kind of the main character, uh, eh, one of the main characters. I don't want to give anything away. There's also like Lion Jr. We actually drew Lion Jr. into the story in this one. And the way that we wrote them, each one is slightly different genre. So this one was more like a thriller, whereas the next one is more horror. The third one is more detective noir, and then we have like superheroes. So and each one we can play around with the artwork. So I thought it would be really good for Eric to really take a stab at it. That's such an awesome cover.
It was
that
so
looks
much
great.
fun. Thank you.
Yeah, no, and the colorist did a great job as well too.
That was me.
Yeah, it was
All
Eric.
right.
Yeah.
That's you. All right.
I
triple
was
threat.
experimenting a lot with this. It was so much fun. Thank you.
And also thank you to Andrew Thomas, who stepped in
course.
and did the lettering. Andrew always does absolutely fantastic jobs. So we communicated back and forth and what we were kind of thinking for the title. And then he threw this at me and I was like, yep, perfect.
Nice. Yeah, and you guys have a pretty good working relationship with Andrew. If I'm not mistaken, were you the architects, or at least the semi-architects behind the Brantford con that just passed?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great con, by the way. We had a great time.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, it was such a blast. Everyone had a great time. So, and it kind of, I think it kind of surprised. There's four of us, James, Shane, Andrew, and myself, all kind of worked together. And it came together like super fast. It was just out of the blue. Someone had started Brantford Comic Con Instagram, and Andrew and I got talking. We're like, let's reach out to him. And a year later, he reaches back out to us, and we're like, oh my God, let's go. So, yeah. So, and of all things, James was someone I went to high school with. So,
Sweet. And so, are you going to be putting this under your imprint, or is this going to be printed in Canada? Like, how are you guys going to go about getting it physical copies into people's hands?
so under imprint, it's under both of our publishing companies. So
Nice.
I actually wrote into the copyright that both of us have. It's our creation together. So
Nice.
it is something that we've talked about doing, sending, pitching it to publishers and that. But I think we need to get a couple more done, and then people can kind of see what we're doing with it, and then maybe we throw it, because there is like after the first 4 issues, there is like a full on 6-issue series, like mini series that we want to tell, and then there's another mini series that connects everything all together.
Sweet. And you said you've got 15 of these planned, right?
Yeah.
That must be pretty exciting for you, Eric.
Dude, he's keeping me busy. He's keeping me busy, and it's I'm excited. It, like I said, I've only really worked on my own books in the last few years, so to be able to work on other stuff with people, whether that's covers, or even Scott and I working on these books, like not just this series, but we've got some other stuff planned. We've got a lot to do, and lots of planning for next year, and like we'd said before, our relationship is awesome, because it's not any sort of like, this is my book or his book or whatever. It's just, this is our creation together, which is freaking awesome. So yeah, I'm pumped to just draw.
and I gotta put a testament out to Eric. He's been Ashton's been really involved with it. Ashton, like Eric sends me all the pencil work and that, and then I sit down with Ashton and we go over it. And Ashton's been great. He wants to get right involved in everything. So Eric's been super patient with him, and he takes anything that Ashton has to say, he takes it in and does it for him. So, which is
I'm
pretty
glad that he's
awesome.
so involved with it. It's freaking awesome,
Yeah.
especially when, I like that he's noticing all the little things I add into the story too. It's not just oh, that page looks good. It's, oh, I like what you did here. Oh, this is really awesome how you did this, or try this maybe. I love the process we have for this. It's been very fun.
Yeah. Ashton actually penciled his own cover, and yeah, I asked him if he wanted me to ink it, and he's like, no, I want Eric to do it. I'm like, okay. Well,
I was like, oh, okay.
That's sweet.
yeah, I'm not. So, and we told him, we said, like, because he wants to do what we're doing, where we have our own table and sell the books himself. So I told him, I said, if you create your own book, or own cover, I'll make 50 of them, and you'll have your own table, and you can sell them yourself, right? So he'll probably outsell us, but at least the book's in people's hands. So
That's right.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
Nothing
Yep.
wrong with that. And so, Eric, you mentioned that you normally work digitally, correct?
I used to. I have switched to almost fully traditional. I have my own new book coming out as well. I just finalized today. That's a good example of that. The whole thing is penciled and inked traditionally. I use brush, like actual. I've got one here, just brush, and then I also use calligraphy nibs, so dip pen. And for these two books, both Abyss and my own book coming out, Flooded Planet Overflow 2, is they're colored digitally, at least for now. I'm gonna try traditionals, I think, next year.
Okay, cool. And has that changed working, like going now to I guess quote quote traditional? Has that changed your workflow or your approach to the pages?
Yes, in a very positive way. I've actually been asked a couple times. Some people have been saying, oh, traditional must be slower, or wow, to switch to traditional from digital must really add to the time you're working on things. It takes me longer to work digitally than it does traditional. I don't know if it's just because it's very new. This is new for me in the last year, or if I'm just having way too much fun. But it's certainly made my work faster, more candid. You make a mistake, it's there, right? And I really like making mistakes because I can learn from them. So it's definitely helped and boost my work ethic as well as my skills. And I think people are noticing that too, which is really awesome to see.
Cool. I guess the other benefit too is, and this is something that I guess has come to more to my attention after going to OAX in Orlando in January, is that a lot of modern artists are doing their stuff digitally, but then at the end they don't have pages that they could sell. So
Yes.
once you work traditionally, you have that as something that once the book's out, and when you're ready, that's another source of revenue for the artist.
Mm-hmm. Actually, and this is a big one. Do you mind if I show? I have a sample of my new
Please,
book as well.
please do. Please do.
So, Flooded Planet Overflow is my bestseller in the last couple years. So this is the second one. I don't know if it's reversed on the screen, but this is the second one, just a sample. I just finished it fully in the last week or so. So this is just samples of the pages, but all traditionally done, and then colored digitally, which has been so fun. It's a story about 4 creatures. They find an underwater city that they explore. They're from a world that's fully black and white, very dull. People lose their memories, and it's a sad, boring world. And they come down here into this very colorful underwater world that they explore. And kids have told me it's like their favorite thing in the world. I've had some kids tell me they're learning to read from it, which is really cool. But back to the traditional thing I just was last month, my local town, Tilsonburg, my hometown, had a gallery open and asked me to do a solo exhibition there, which was a really cool opportunity. And I said one condition, because I also paint. I said paintings, it's fine, but I want a whole wall of just comic book stuff. And when people see a comic book, they only see a finished comic book. They see it's printed, it's colored, the whole 9 yards. Oh yeah, it took a lot of work, but did it really? So I said I want every single original page on that wall, all 45 pages, in order so you could read it and you could see the actual inked work, which was there it is, and it was so cool. It was so cool to see.
That's impressive. That's pretty impressive.
Thank you, and it helped. Like people asked, like the amount of people. The opening night was very packed, which was so cool as well. And I had people saying like, are these prints? I said, nope, they're the original pages. And they're like, how the heck did you do all that? Because I hand inked it all. I hand lettered it. And it had people asking, like really inquiring about the process of making a comic, which is all I cared about. So it was really cool. And it's certainly helped people see the work that goes into it. Having these original pages with me at shows and the gallery and such. So it's been fun. I love it.
And these are pages from Monsters from the Abyss that I'm looking at right now, correct?
Yes.
It is. Yeah.
That's cool.
The I don't know if you're zoomed in. That I don't know if the picture has it, but the bottom page there, I don't know if it's in that photo, is my favorite one. Actually, Scott, you might be able to show it in the book. I love that page so much. The screaming page. It was a lot of experimenting doing stuff like that. It was so cool to do. Yeah.
That's great.
And one of the such a cool thing that Eric did with that was, so Sleepy Joe, when he talks, no one can hear him, right? The boy can't hear him. So at that point, he is to scream, right? Something has grabbed his leg. He's screaming. The idea to place the scream in the shadow work on the wall is absolutely brilliant. And I think it really shows that shows the style of artwork that Eric can do. And I think it only will get better from here on out.
Thank you.
And the more you do, the more comfortable you're going to get, and you'll be able to take different chances and stuff like that. I love it. I love what I've seen so far, and I can't wait to dive into that issue and read what comes next.
The cool thing about it is, so when Eric and I sat down about it, like I said, I had a stack of scripts that I handed to him, and I'm like, read them. Tell me which one, what do you want to work on first? And we there is one that that I'm currently writing, because we got talking about it, and we're like, I want a horror. I want a book that's super, like, bodies ripped apart and everything. So I'm like, oh,
I want to do that so bad. I want to try it.
And then, of course, when we started working on this, I'm like, this is going to be a great transition if we can do a couple of these, and then you can transition into that horror story where bodies are ripped apart. And of course, we've been working on it. I've been writing it, and I think it's going to be a good one. So it's going to mess with people's mind, but it's going to be fun.
No, it looks like it's going to be fun. And, horror kind of rules the day right now. So there's nothing wrong with putting that in comic book form, because there's a long tradition of horror comics from all sorts of publishers, for sure. And Scott, you have another book too, but it was announced today. Was the Kickstarter announced today, or can we talk about it, or is it still under wrap?
Yeah, no, we can talk about it. So around the same time that Eric and I started working on Monster of the Abyss, I got contacted by Alfonso to co-author on a book that was published in, I think, Spain and Italy, mostly over in Europe. It was all in Spanish. So the creator and writer was Marcelo Bondi.
Okay.
Bondi. Fantastic writer. But of course, when you translate from Spanish to English, there's like, just says hello. There's no actual context to it. So Alfonso reached out to me, and he's like, would you like to jump on it and spice this the script up?
And hold on, this is not to interrupt, but excuse me on that one. It's Alfonso from Studio Comics.
It is. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So he reached out to me on this book, Space Dump, and I sat down. Within a week, I had it written out, and essentially, for it to make sense, I had to rewrite the whole thing. And sent the script to Marcelo, and he approved it, and we now have a book. So I it's my first published co-author book.
And is it on Kickstarter?
It's not. No, they can just pre-order right now.
Oh, sweet. All right. So pre-order is available.
Yeah.
And Studio Comics, they do great work. They're a publisher in their own right, and they're always looking for indie titles that get published through them. And just the team over there is fantastic, and great to work with, great to chat with. And I love the energy that everyone at Studio Comics has. A lot of amazing passion for the indie landscape, for sure.
Yeah. Like you can see all the names that are on the top of that book. They're like Bondi Marcelo is, I think he has like 25 graphic novels that he's put out already. And
Wow.
the artwork, I can't remember. I think it's Bondra or Inandra. His artwork is just inside is just absolutely gorgeous. So I think few of them have worked for like Marvel, DC, and that. So there's some big names on there.
That must be pretty exciting.
It is very exciting, actually.
And in case I missed it, what's Space Dump about?
Okay, so it starts out with this gentleman right here. He has been sent to a off-site space dump where it's kind of like your prison, right? So there's no prisons on Earth anymore, and essentially he's going to spend the rest of his life there. I don't want to give too much away, but essentially he befriends someone, an engineer on the ship, and he foils a plan to destroy Earth from other people. So, and essentially he stops it. So, but that's not the end of it.
Sweet. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah. It
Very cool.
has a little bit of like Die Hard feel to it.
Nice. Yippee-yo, trash kaye.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. And I guess your journey from starting with your initial, titles with your imprint, and Eric, you getting into the game full time now. How has the indie scene changed since you both stepped into it, into where you are now?
That's a big one. It's been a cool journey to be a part of. I think I have been doing this for around 4.5 years now. Scott, you're probably around the same.
Yeah.
It's really cool, especially because when I started, it was just getting out of, and a little bit during COVID. When I printed my first book as a zine, I cut her all up and stapled it myself. And I think just from even then, as a consumer going into cons, when like with the lockdowns and all that, it was just a really weird landscape to navigate anyways. But going in as a creator, it was really cool to jump into, because I almost feel like, at least getting in there as an indie creator, it was like a reset. I wasn't jumping in and it was all going on. It was because of the lockdowns. It was like everything reset. You had to relearn how things worked. And what's been really fun is meeting people like the two of you, and seeing who lasts throughout those years to continue making their work, how many new works come out, and then meeting new people, especially through my own company, Olcsvary, where we run anthologies every year, is meeting new people in the game or some veterans in the game, and all working together. It's a very tight-knit community, comics here in the indie scene, at least around in Ontario. But as we'll talk about later, the comic book scene and industry as a whole has also changed quite a bit, and is still changing quite a bit. It's really awesome to watch, and well, that we could talk about that all night.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into it. We're definitely gonna get into it. And what about you, Scott?
It's been an interesting ride. Like Eric said, it's been, I think about 4 years ago is when I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a stab at making a comic. And I started out, I got about halfway through a book. There was some issues with the co-creator, and we both kind of backed off. And it kind of opened my eyes a little bit on, like, you need to just plow through and just keep moving forward. So I spent the next year just introducing myself to people, to every creator I could think of along the line. Now, thankfully, out of that, I was able to land a close friend with Andrew, and of all things, he lives around the corner from me. So from that, we just kept like coming up and working on certain things. And then when I got my first table, man, I had no idea what I was doing. It kind of threw me off a little bit. So out of since then, it's been like exhilarating, I guess is the best way to put it. Like you know, that first time you guys know what it's like. That first book that you finally have in your hands and you've printed. I've had so many people tell me that I would never be a writer, never achieve any of that. And, you know, I am holding up, you know, this is my seventh book. So, and like, I can't thank everyone, right, that has helped me out in that. So it's been an interesting run. That is definitely for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine, and like all the work that goes into it, all the planning. It's good to finally see like the fruits of your labor on the shelf.
Yeah.
And when you go to conventions and you know those 1 day events, it's always nice to see the feedback from people, because like sometimes you're working
Oh
in a
yeah.
vacuum and you don't know what you're doing, right? You know what you're doing, but you don't know what the impact is. And then when you
Yeah.
get to see, people's reactions to an issue or pages or the artwork or some of the words that you put down on paper, it's a nice feeling.
Yeah. I actually had an absolutely amazing reaction at CK Expo this year. So
Cool.
my first year, there was this young girl that came in. She was my very first customer at a con, and I sold cereal box number 1 to her, and she even let me take a picture of her holding the book, and I was like super excited. I was like, yeah, my first book, right? Didn't see her last year, but this year she came around the corner. Like, you guys know the setup that we had. I was right at the corner, and she
Mhm.
comes around the corner and she saw my books and she lost her mind. And I'm like, okay, I clearly made a connection with this girl with this book. And she saw I had number 3 out. So they her father told me the book was completely destroyed. She read it so much. So they bought all new copies of all the books, which is absolutely amazing. And she let me take another picture of her. I'm like, this is awesome. I knew who it was as soon as I saw her. I was like, that was my first customer. So that, like Eric said, it is like the best feeling in the world to get a reaction like that.
It's the connections. There's one little girl, her name is Rogue, and every time I do more than just cons. I do like little markets around St. Thomas area, and I'll always, when I go to a St. Thomas show, I'm like, Rogue is probably going to be here. And when she does, she runs, just darts right to the table, because Wendy and the Sprite is her favorite thing in the freaking world, which is awesome. And it's cool to see, like, to make those connections. She's sitting at the table with me. People are passing by, and she's like, "You got to read Wendy and the Sprite." She's telling the story, and I'm like, oh, "Geez, Louise!" It's just cool to make those connections and to make someone's day with something that really was just an idea at first in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Like
rewarding for sure.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I added at the back of issue 1, I had added lessons with Leandro, and it was like how to draw the cat as a dragon, right? The dragon cat. And I don't know how many times I've had kids come in with pieces of paper that they've already drawn the cat
Yeah.
just to show me, right? Especially at Sobeys, right? Like I sit at Sobeys once a month, and I get kids all the time coming in and showing me they don't even come in to buy anything. They just want to talk, which is absolutely amazing, right? So if I can inspire younger generation, it's even more, right? More kids coming up and creating better stories.
It is a very community driven thing. It's like I've said to a lot of, like, through Olcsvary, I meet a lot of people who want to learn how to make comics, and I will gladly teach or have them involved in the anthology to learn. And I'll always say the same two things: is you need to just keep making, just always keep making. And two is it's making the connections, because in the end, Steve, we've met you, we're on the podcast now, we're all friends. And then
Yep.
Scott, you and I start talking, we make a book, or even just simply sharing ideas. It's a big one. And communication and working with each other is a big part of comics. Something I didn't realize was every creator is always involved with each other somehow. There's always some little connection, whether it's a cover or it's an editor or something. It's awesome making those connections.
It is.
Yeah, and we're on one side of the indie spectrum, and we're going to jump over into another side of it, which is IDW. And Scott, I don't know if you know this news, but I think it was on Bleeding Cool. Let's see if I'll pull it up. But IDW, not too long ago, stated that they have enough money to last the year, or at least another year, at least they said, right? And we know that comics is kind of in a strange way right now due to the economics and distribution with Diamond going through its changes. But let's get into the article, and then we'll read a bit about it. So it says, this is courtesy of Bleeding Cool. I think this is Rich Johnston. So I could be by Rich Johnson. So IDW Publishing states that they definitely have enough cash to be around for at least another year. And he says we'll find out more today. So this is June 16th, so a couple of days ago. IDW Publishing is one of those curious publishers, one of the biggest American comic book publishers, which has been through some tumultuous times and owners since it was originally founded by former Wildstorm employees, but has given us everything from Lock and Key to 30 Days of Night to Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, and even League of Extraordinary Gentlemen when it was too much for DC. But it has had significant problems over the years, has been heavily IP license based, and has seen those licenses pulled, like Star Wars, Doctor Who, Transformers, and Marvel itself, but often in the face of my own expectations, and this is Rich's expectations, it is taking a licking and kept on ticking. As a publicly traded company, it has to make its business more transparent than that of its privately owned rivals, which also means more reportable. So it says, later today, comic book publisher, and this would have been, I guess, on Monday, CEO Davide Jonas will hold top earnings conference call and answer questions about the publisher's future and current state. Johnson says, I'm not entirely sure that he will ever top the one he made while driving in his car, in which he told investors that if the TV and film plan had worked out, they'd all be on a yacht, but it didn't. We can all sit here and say that doing indie comics, you're probably not going to be buying a yacht anytime soon.
Speak for yourself, Steve. I got two.
Eric's the comic book oligarch. Excellent. But it says here that IDW had to write off $750,000, which was being sub-distributed by Diamond Comic Distributors from their exclusive distributor, Penguin Random House. And then it says here that Bleeding Cool previously reported that it looked like Penguin was trying to stick with IDW with this sum from the $9 million owed by Diamond to Penguin Random House before bankruptcy, that this made up 15 to 20% of its direct market sales via Penguin Random House. So those are some huge numbers, and with the state of how things are, the numbers are not even what they were you know, after the COVID bump, because no one was going anywhere, and you know, people maybe had a little bit of extra cash. It's kind of a bit of a shot to kind of see companies and distributors, you know, and then conversely it trickles down into the LCSs, having a bit of a rough time.
It's so weird. I love seeing numbers like this. I didn't realize they were a publicly traded company, which is also interesting to see, especially since, like it said in the article, a lot of them are private, because, you know, switching to that kind of thing is its own financial jump in itself.
Right.
I don't think, does IDW have a digital reading platform? I can't remember if it was them or Dark Horse that announced that. I think it was IDW.
You might be correct. You keep talking, and I'll see if they have it.
It's just because it's interesting when you try to think about combating the sales. It really depends, because, you know, when you got Marvel, you've got Disney involved and stuff, and then DC's got their own. They've got their own tangled mess of things, and then it's just there's so many interconnected parts. But I always find, at least in a simple way to talk about it, when you want to make those sales, a lot of the younger generation are going to read them digitally. And I even know people that read them digitally anyways. I myself like my physical copy, but that's definitely a plus. But I swear IDW had mentioned that they were just releasing one, like a digital platform to read, kind of like, I think it's called, is it Marvel Unlimited? Is there
they do have, I'm here on their site, and it does say that they do have online digital comics. So yeah,
I don't know how much that'll boost it, but it's certainly going to help them. But so does this article state it's saying that Penguin's taking handling a lot of the revenue, it says, eh?
It says here, the most recent financial report from IDW ending on the 30th of April, 2025 saw revenues of 4.8 million, a 31.5% decrease from 7 million the same period last year, almost solely due to their publishing of comics. They posted a loss of 533,000 for the quarter, which was up from the $893,000 loss in the same period. However, taking in a full 6 months, including the Diamond bankruptcy, IDW's loss was 1.7 million, up from 1.1 million in the 6 months before. So when you're bleeding millions of dollars, that's just hard.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's
right?
hard to scrape up from that. And they've got a lot of stuff, at least to my knowledge, that they're pumping out, because I think they're doing, well, I don't know how related Skybound is with that. I'm assuming IDW's Skybound is, or is that Image?
No, that's Image. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
Skybound
That's
is
Skybound's Image.
because they're doing all the Transformers, the Void Rivals and stuff. And see, I'm into that, but I didn't even think twice about whether it was IDW or not. I can't really think of what they've got going on that I'm enjoying aside from Beneath the Trees.
Another question I would ask is, when did they change their logo?
That was last year.
And
Yeah.
And did the drop in sales drop when they changed the logo? Because the logo is so different than what they had. People maybe don't recognize it and they look on the shelf and they're like, "Oh, I don't know what that is," and then they just grab a different book.
See, I'm wondering
that's
if
a
they
great question.
I'm wondering if they rebranded to try and help with their sales, because I find it a
Yeah.
little more like nicer to look at than their older one. But like I just said, I don't know any titles that I'm reading that have pulled me in recently by them.
Well, I think because they relaunched Ninja Turtles, right? And they had Jason Aaron writing it, and who was doing the artwork? I can't remember. Shoot, it's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember who it was that was doing the artwork. And then they had what's the one that Ben Bishop is?
The Last Ronin.
The Last Ronin, yeah, that's another one. I know the first run of Last Ronin was fantastic. So I'm kind of surprised that even you got Ninja Turtles, Star Trek. Is Star Wars? You said Star Wars is part of IDW?
No, that's they're Marvel now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm like, but in the article it actually said Star Wars.
They lost those. They lost them.
Oh,
those are some of the ones that they lost, right? So it says here As for their comics, the revenues decreased by 911,000 in the quarter compared to the previous year, and they cite decreases in comic book market publishing revenue of 530,000, driven by prior year sales of, as you mentioned, Ninja Turtles Re-Evolution and Ninja Turtles number 150, which would have been like marquee issues, right?
Yeah.
Or runs. And their licensing revenue of $187,000 due to prior year video game activity. Direct billing revenue of $159,000, driven mostly by decreased retail incentive orders, and then direct to customer sales of $140,000. So, like the revenue streams are there, but when you're burdened with that much debt and you're not pulling in the same kind of numbers that you might have been previously, and Diamond then going down, it's like almost like a calamity of errors. It's like a domino effect.
Yeah. I'm sure like they were kind of just sitting on the line until Diamond went down, and then that probably pretty much did them in.
Yeah, and according to
too bad.
Yeah, and just to get back to what you were saying, according to Johnston, basically they didn't have strong tentpole turtle titles so far this year as they did with Last Ronin and TMNT 150, and not as many exclusive covers for retailers. So that is kind of eaten into any kind of potential gains they could make this year. But the fact that your forecast is that you've only got that you pretty much have enough money for a calendar year, that's kind of bleak.
Well, what are you going to do in that year is the thing, because the big one with this stuff is when you're a publishing company, as we said, you can do all these books, but you're going to have your main IPs. Like it said, you're going to have like, what are they doing that's up there? And as much as I love Star Trek, I'm a big canon person. So when I see Star Trek comics, I don't usually pick them up. And TMNT, I'm not fully caught up. Last Ronin was awesome. And then it's like, what's going on next? But then what else do they have? And are we getting enough people interested in that? It's a really complicated thing.
Yeah, for sure. Friend of the show and crime, Vaughn. Those numbers still seem kind of low. Vaughn, if you want to jump on, you're more than welcome. I will send you the link if you got time, if you want to jump in and say hi. But they do seem low. And I'm going to get back to I'm going to share the screen again. It says they've also enacted a 1-for-100 reverse stock split. So for every 100 old shares is converted to a new one. So the amount of shares will reduce from 38 million to 380,000, and the value from 40 cents to around $40. So the total value doesn't change, but it does look a bit better. So that's just optics. And while it may not have any TV shows in production right now, Lock and Key and Renona Earp are still in the air, and they have active discussions underway for projects based on titles such as Kill Lock, Dungeon, The Delicacy, You Wish, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, The Exorcism at 1600 Penn, Mountainhead, Arca, and Dark Spaces. So they do have stuff coming, but do they have anything that is going to really drive those numbers up?
They need to take a major risk on one of their big titles. It's either Star Trek or Ninja Turtles. I would say you probably want to do Ninja Turtles, but they need to make like a huge risk and go for it, because if they don't, you're just going to have the same numbers over and over again.
Right.
Exactly.
So it like at one point Marvel decided to do Amazing Spider-Man 300 and let Todd just go ahead, and Todd makes Venom, and boom, Spider-Man explodes even more than what he was. Right? You sometimes you have to stop listening to the people at the top that are sitting at the table and have no idea how to tell a story. That sounds bad, because they all actually know how to tell the story, but you know what I mean? Like, stop letting everyone put their fingers in the cookie jar and just let one person take it and let it go.
It's making a major
So,
IP special, like I said earlier. It's and I agree with you. Is taking a risk with something that's hopefully going to make it explode with what they've got. Like out of all those titles, and this is just me. Some people I'm sure have read a lot of them. I've only read Beneath the Trees, and I got the graphic novel that was from I think it was a year or two prior. It's a fantastic book, really cool. Art's beautiful, and I know they are in the middle of working on the next volume. So they're doing, I believe the next issue comes out soon of that second
yeah,
volume, which is great. But that's just an issue. That's just however many issues. And who's reading that? And that's still one title that isn't a major IP either. So then, like you said, Scott, jumping in like, let's do something big with this could be what helped it. It's just
yeah,
guesswork, I guess, at that point.
yeah. Do a 12 issue 1 year series. They're like, okay, we have 12 months, or say we have 16 months, and we need to get 12 issues out that is just absolutely mind blowing that people are gonna like be, jumping through the roof for, and go for it. Because if you don't, you're not gonna have your name out there anymore.
Mm-hmm. And it's complex. Like you said, it's a risk because then they got to pay. They got to pick the right person to pay to work on stuff. They got to make sure they've got all their numbers right for that timeline. And then since they're publicly traded, which I didn't know, they got to make sure investors are also seeing it as a positive, this could work kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Yeah, beating the street nowadays is hard in publishing as it is. In comics, it's even more dicey. So they've gotten. It's good to know that they have enough money, at least to survive for a little bit. And we're all pushing for IDW to kind of, break through and survive. But it's an uphill battle.
It really is.
Yeah. If they still had Transformers, they would have had my dollar because I'll always buy Transformers. But I guess I'm giving it to Image now.
Yeah, it's going to Skybound.
I love Transformers so much.
Oh, good. Speaking of comics, we're gonna switch gears a little bit. Let's go for the big boy. Let's go for the big boy. And it's crazy to think that number ones are what drive things, but they do, even when you're dealing with Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And Batman is going back to a new number one. I think it's in the fall. Let me just see. I think it's September.
Yeah, I think
September,
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Matt Faction, Jorge Jimenez, Timo Mori, and Clayton Cowles will be part of a Batman number one. So it says today, DC unveiled more details surrounding its brand new Batman comic book series launching on September 3rd, 2025. Fans around the globe are counting down the days until DC's Cape Crusader starts a new journey when Eisner Award-winning writer Matt Fraction joins forces with Jorge Jimenez alongside colorist Timo Mori and letterer Clayton Cowles for an unforgettable new era of Batman. I guess it's kind of hard to put 1,150 in that little corner box. And so launching on September 3rd, it marks only the fourth renumbering of the iconic series' 85-year history. The fresh take on Gotham will introduce a new Batmobile, a new blue and gray costume, and new characters, all while celebrating legendary heroes and villains alike. So we've got a whole bunch of artists lined up. And so this is the Jorge Jimenez cover.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
I love it.
That is cool.
And some of these covers are great. You'll get to take a look. You'll be able to see them in a second here. So that's the main cover going for $4.99, and then there'll be a foil variant, which will be without the logo, and that's an interesting logo.
Yes,
That's interesting. That's interesting.
They've done a full revamp for him. I didn't know there was a new
Yeah.
Batmobile, but I knew they were doing a whole new suit and the new symbol. Go ahead.
This is exactly what we're talking about. IDW revamp it, right?
Take the risk.
Yeah.
Batman needed it, I think, personally.
He did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're even coming up with a giant size special edition. It's actually going to be 11 by 17.
Well, that's cool.
artboard trim size format. That's going to be for $15.
That's
Interesting.
not bad.
And then an open to order foil variant for $19 USD. These are all USD.
Mhm.
And then they're doing a blind bag edition, and it adds mystery and collectability. Ooh. So here's some of the covers. This is the David Aja cover.
I love his Batman
That's
work.
cool.
Yeah,
It's good.
that's really cool. Then we've got J. Scott Campbell, which they didn't give us. This one, if I remember correctly, is Gabriel Dell'Otto. Yeah, he's great.
I love this shit.
Yep. This is the Jimenez, I guess you call it Virgin cover.
It's got a classic look.
Yeah, this one is Kubert. His style's
Awesome
changed a little
colors.
bit, eh?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's channeling a bit of Frank Miller. But I can't lie. I'm like, I get it for the movies, but I kind of like Batman going back to having a color scheme instead of just being, this is Art Germs cover.
That's pretty.
They didn't do the Jim Lee cover. Yeah, I think this is the Frank Quitely version. Yeah, you can tell by the shorts. That's pure.
Yeah.
Yep.
This one is Silvestri. So any Silvestri fans out there?
Wow.
That is gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love this classic look. It's reminding me of growing up with the Batman in blue.
Yeah. Yeah, that purplish blue cowl that he had in the 60s series with Adam West. And then all the cartoons, through Super Friends up until Batman 89. He was the Jim Aparo years, the Breyfogle years, they had the blue. And I love this new emblem where it's just a blue emblem. I have not seen that before. That's kind of cool.
They are taking risks. I think it's definitely going to make it fresh. It's got an Adam West vibe.
Yeah. And this one is Julian Totino Tedesco, who I'm not familiar with, but this is also very nice. This would be a great pinup.
Yes.
For sure. So you can see like a lot of these variant covers are going to go, but again, no J. Scott Campbell preview, at least in the one that I got, and no Jim Lee variant.
Yeah.
So it says a new classic take on storytelling. So it says that the creative team will craft a series of connected but self-contained stories beginning with Bat #1 in September, ensuring that every issue offers a new adventure, a fresh storytelling style, and a unique challenge for Batman to face. With each installment, readers can expect a thrilling surprise reflecting the dynamic vision of the creative team. Batman #1 debuts on September 3rd, 2025, available in print and digitally at participating comic book retailers everywhere. So it'll be interesting to see where this falls in with continuity, how exactly they're going to re-image the character, and what a new #1, I think it's the 5th time in 85 years, which is, it's a pretty good average. What that's probably going to drive sales like crazy.
Yes.
#1s always do.
And Batman, arguably the hottest combo character, around right now. Spider-Man's probably 1A, if anything.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be really interesting.
Batman is certainly what has driven me in comics. It's what I grew up with. It's when my dad and uncle handed down their collection to me, it was all 70s, 80s Batman. So it's big for me, and it's one of those comics, I think every one of us has it, where you just love them so much that you're pretty much going to pick up the issue. Like I've been reading a lot of the Detective and Batman lately, and Detective's been all right. Batman as of late, I've been kind of disappointed with. That's a whole conversation we can have about what they've been doing with Hush too.
Well, let's get into that. Once you're finished with that, we'll get into Hush, because there's some huge Hush news that I didn't expect.
Yeah. So, and to bring this up in particular is, I think it's great that they're doing a #1. I think it gets you to just reset which I think is also necessary. The new suit's awesome.
Hey, J-Man. Batman, never heard of him. Isn't he in a red costume with silly wings? Yes, Red Bull. Give him
Red
wings.
Bull. I am excited to see this, though. I don't know if I'm a big fan of the logo, personally, but I still think it's pretty. I know a lot of people that don't like blue Batman. I freaking love it. Plus, it's interesting and new, right? At least right now.
You know what? He's almost like Iron Man when you think of like the different looks that he can have.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some heroes that like Spider-Man's pretty much that look, right? The red and the blue.
Yeah.
The costume as is. Batman's got so many iterations of the logos that work. The color schemes, the different interpretations, whether he's in the full armor, whether he's tactical. And so it's almost like it depends really on the artist. If the artist comes down and kicks ass on it, and it's in a good story, you'll kind of go with whatever the look is. Personally,
yes.
J-Man is adamant here. He goes, black and gray is okay, but blue and gray is the GOAT.
I love it.
We were saying that earlier, J-Man, where it's kind of like that kind of look it's kind of nice to put some color back into the character. So
absolutely
no complaints there whatsoever. And I get it, because like he's a great contrast when you have it as black and gray against Superman, which is the red and blue, especially if you're doing a light colored Superman. But I remember The World's Finest as a kid, and Batman had like the light blue cowl and the gray suit, the gray bodysuit, the light blue boots, and Superman had almost the same color, but with the red and the yellow. So like it just looks great on the page.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It absolutely
it stands out. I'm just rereading some of my books. I'm at the Mud Pack right now, and you've got that blue cowl, and it's clean, right? Yeah. I'm interested to see how he'll be written, because especially as of late, and even in other books, not just Detective and Batman, but I was just reading the new Zatanna today, or having what was it? The Justice League. When he's in there, he's so stale and he's just straightforward. And I'm hoping with that new colorful look, we're also going to get more of a colorful personality, because Batman's got personality and we don't see enough of it right now, personally.
No, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting because I was kind of watching, oh my gosh, was it the Yakuza? I think it was the Yakuza Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And even in that, he's so stiff and he's not fun. Like I get the whole serious or whatever, but it's still comics. Like
Batman's fun. When he cracks jokes, it's the best.
I can't remember Batman cracking a joke.
He cracks jokes.
But it's like if you've grown up with Nightwing, with Grayson and whatever, but of course they have to have some brevity and levity. You can't have all these kids around you. Like, I will always joke that child services should come for Bruce Wayne, right? But you have all these kids around you and you're not cracking jokes. You can't be that stern. Like, it's impossible.
Yeah. The one thing that and with you bringing up that, let's see what the writing is like. For the longest time, I didn't actually start reading Batman until 2018. I was fully 100% Marvel. And the thing that got me into Batman was the two one-shots before Dark Knight's Metal. And it was because Batman was actually a detective in those, right? He's reading the journal, he's going through the process. Whereas in the last like 20 or 30 years, Batman, all he does is beat the shit out of people and that's it, right? He's not an actual detective where he's actually trying to figure stuff out. And I think that if they really jumped back to that, where he's actually doing the full-on investigation as the series goes on, that could be really fun. If you can bring that back, that'd be awesome.
I remember point. Sorry, go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just so the last arc that they did for Detective Comics, I think the last 5 or 6 issues, not into the new one, which I'm not a fan of. They brought a little bit of that detective element in, but only enough so that you were excited to see him punch. But that was the whole point, was his detective work. That's what made me love Batman, especially the Batman games, was figuring everything out. That's what his character is, right? Dark Patterns is fantastic. I love it. Sorry.
All
I'm
right,
gonna check that out.
J-Man and
Good.
Eric are on the same page with Dark
Good
Patterns.
stuff. Oh, and you got the classic, what you're wearing, Steve, the yellow symbol. It's that classic Batman in the shadows, detective work. Sorry. Anyways.
Well, the thing about it too is, like, I remember I had the pleasure of talking to Neil Adams when he was at Fan Expo one year, and I asked him, so Batman is basically like Sherlock Holmes and James Bond, and he goes, pretty much. That's pretty much it. And it's the detective aspect. And I'll be honest with you, that's why I liked Nightwing so much, because Nightwing is like, he plays on the detective stuff, in my opinion, more than Batman does, especially when you know who's Donna Troy and stuff like that. Like, just amazing stories of like how good of a detective he was. And like Batman, is it Drake? Is it Tim Drake who's the best detective out of all of them? J-Man, you'll have to help us out here on that one. But like, I love that aspect of him. I don't like the aspect of him where he's the most diabolical over planner in the world and can beat everyone except his own rogues gallery, right? Like, that aspect to him, I'm kind of like, but I love it when you delve into why he's such a good detective and how he can figure stuff out. And I know it's hard based on what writing team you have.
Yes.
But that, because to craft those mysteries is difficult as a writer, but to have to not play up that part of the character, it's kind of like when they forget that Spider-Man's smart. It's kind of annoying. Like, Spider-Man's really smart.
Yes, he is. He's supposed to be.
Yeah, and it's the same with Bruce Wayne, right? He is absolutely brilliant. It's just they don't use that anymore. It's just him flying in and just punches the guy in the face, and then it's over, right?
Yeah. J-Man, hey, 3 good shirts tonight. Thank you, sir. And you have good taste in shirts too, for sure. So we'll take that compliment. And he says also that my shirt is the real bat signal.
I would agree.
Symbol. And I would agree. Yeah.
Favorite.
And the thing about it too is, which made sense, was because he had the Kevlar and whatever, this symbol was to be what stood out to people so they wouldn't shoot him anywhere else. Right? Which where he would have been less protected. That was one of the explanations that you would get in, like, you know, DC Wikipedia, whatever. And then J-Man, I feel like Tim was the best Robin to take over as Batman, but Dick Grayson is one of my faves of all time. Yeah, Dick's amazing. Yeah, for sure. He's just he's so good, so layered. He's one of those legacy characters as well too. And one of the few characters that you have actually seen their progression from kid to adult.
Yep.
Right?
Sure.
You can go back and see him as a 10-year-old or however old he was when Bruce had him as his ward and trained him up to Robin, and now leading, you know, Teen Titans, and at one point, I guess, Justice League, when Justice League was out of commission. So let's get back to what you're talking about, Hush, because I'm gonna have one of J-Man's. He goes, he'll get the comic, which is the Batman book. And he says, I'm okay with Hush too. I know it's not being super embraced, but I'm okay with it. And with that being said, Hush is being delayed, which is crazy.
That is crazy. I want to hear about that. I just picked up the first issue the other day. I was holding out, and the amount of copies that were like sitting on comic book shop shelves, just not being touched, I was like, I gotta check it out. I picked it up. And I'll get into it later. I'll let you speak. Sorry, but
no. Keep going. I want to hear that.
Personally, I wasn't too impressed. The art's beautiful. Jim Lee, it's beautiful. But I was even reading a lot of reviews saying that the art is beautiful, great, but the storytelling is just a showy comic. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't too impressed personally. So I'm excited to see what the number one's going to be. But anyways,
so. I know, speaking with Vaughn, who commented a little bit earlier, he was saying the same thing, where it's like Jim's art's great. It's not Hush levels,
no,
but it was still an enjoyable, like, not read because he wasn't talking about the story, but storytelling wise and art wise, it looked great,
It's
but the
pretty.
story was lacking. That's
Ugh.
what he was talking about and was quite disappointed in it. So, according to CBR, the final 2 issues of Batman's Hush 2 are facing a delay. Per being cool, both Batman 162 and 163 have been delayed by 2 months each. This comes on the heels of the announcement that Batman 161 has been delayed by 1 week, which didn't seem like that much of a shift, nor indicative of further delays at the time. As of now, 163 will mark the final chapter of writer Jeff Loeb and artist Jim Lee's Hush 2 storyline, set to land on comic book stores on October 29th. Says here that these delays are disappointing for fans, but they're nothing new for Batman, particularly not when it comes to the follow-up storyline. And it was supposed to be on shelves in 2024, and that would have followed hard on the heels of All-Star creator Chip Zdarsky's critically acclaimed run. Instead, the story didn't begin until the release of Batman 158 this past April. Since then, readers have watched as Thomas Elliott, better known as Hush, has launched a coordinated crusade of terror against the heroes and villains of Gotham City. So it's kind of interesting. Like they've got some more to it, but I think that's pretty much all we need to get into. It's like essentially it's almost delayed a year when you think about it. If it's supposed to be 2024 and it won't be done until the end of 2025, that's pretty crazy.
Do you
That's
think
gonna
that
be
that's
weird.
with Jim running everything over at DC? Do you think that that's maybe what it is? He's so busy, he's having not enough time to draw it.
It's a good question. It would only be speculation because I don't know, but I know and Eric, you can chime in as an artist. If you've got other stuff to do, like a Superman movie, right? If you're shepherding in a Superman movie and all that kind of stuff, and then you're older as well too, you're going to be delayed. Yeah.
Well, and so for anyone who's read it, and like I said, I only read the first issue, and it's beautiful. It is a very beautiful book.
It is.
I've heard some people say, it's not up to par to what he has done in the past, and of course, that's just how it is. Especially with you being busy and whatever else. But it is a gorgeous book. What's interesting about this delay is, so I jumped in a little late on Zdarsky's run for Batman. I did really enjoy it. Nothing crazy, but I really enjoyed it. Then I picked up Hush, and I was bored. And then they announced the new number 1 for Batman, and it's going to be funny because it said it's coming out October, but number 1's coming out September.
Yeah.
I don't know how sales are going to do for this book when number 1's coming out. That's a good
really
question. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that'd be crazy to have to juggle that because his art is intricate, right? It's not like some artists, it does take a while, but they tend to smush things. I know I do. But his work is intricate, so I don't know. That's weird.
Maybe some shorthand because he and Williams have worked together forever. So you might get more Williams, but then you get Jim Lee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
J-Man, I'm gonna forget all this stuff by that time. My memory sucks as it is. It's just age, man. I'm in the same boat. I'm like Guy Pearce from Memento. After I turned 40, I can't retain memories. Yeah, that's how the brain. Join the club. And then Hush 2 should have rebooted it. DC, man, what are people doing? It's a good question. It was funny because I've always argued that Marvel and DC could never get everything in order at the same time. So Marvel's comics were amazing, but their cartoons were terrible. And then DC's comics were but their cartoons were fantastic. And then Marvel's comics were but their movies were amazing. And the cartoons were maybe a little bit better. And then DC would have great comics, but then their movies are right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's never where they're amazing all at the same time. And now that it looks like their cinematic universe might be picking up, their comics might be making a dip.
DC
or
in
at least,
particular?
and DC in particular. Marvel's another animal altogether.
Yes.
Yeah.
Personally, just from what I've been going through, DC, at least in the series that I've been reading, I feel like they've been doing fantastic. Some way better than others. Some are fine.
The Absolute Universe reboots have been
Oh,
on point.
They've been great.
On point.
They've been fantastic. I've heard good things about All In general. Like I said, I liked Batman's run with Zdarsky's for All In. Absolute Flash. I just read the new one today. It was amazing. Absolute Wonder Woman is my favorite thing DC's done.
Yeah.
In a while.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Freaking unbelievable.
Hayden Sherman's artwork is
so good.
The
unbelievable.
panel work. The panels are so interesting.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, and like we were talking about earlier, is that risk. There's a lot of cool experimentation going on with DC, and then some of it is just I've read someone explain once that Marvel, they're either freaking amazing or they're not, and DC's like awesome, not awesome, not awesome, not all at the same time. It's really weird. It's like they're just some things.
Yeah, good call on that one. J-Man says, I agree with Steve. Nothing is in sync. Well, right now, Marvel is unreadable. I collect 0 modern Marvel comics. DC, much better. Aquaman is good too. Yeah, I will say this. I'm enjoying, on the Marvel side, I am enjoying Simone's X-Men.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I haven't read Gail's work yet.
The artist is phenomenal. And so, Gail Simone has her fans and people that are detractors, but I'm enjoying this run. Like, the writing's good and the art is phenomenal. I'm a Hulk fan, so I'm enjoying Hulk. But I will say that I'm kind of tiring of the monster element of it because I miss Banner. That's just me. I kind of miss Banner being an integral part of the books. But I'm enjoying DC. Like, I'm enjoying Absolutes. I haven't had a chance. I have it downstairs to read, but I'm looking forward to reading the Manhunter, because it's such a bizarre looking interpretation of it. And there you go. And that's the title for me right there.
It's so good. Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah. Hold up against Scott.
Yeah,
man. So good.
The art, the storytelling. The storytelling is very good. I really like the way they're taking the characters for it.
Absolutely. And it was funny because, and I don't know if Eric, you'll agree with me, because I'm a little bit older vintage of wine than you are. Reading that first Wonder Woman, I felt like I was reading an old Thor comic book where it's like him talking. She was talking trash.
Yep.
Fighting monsters. The sword is basically his hammer. And I'm just enjoying the mythology of it all. Right?
Yes.
And I totally was missing it. And then Bane shows up in Absolute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's not bad. I liked Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
Freeze was cool.
He was totally different, right? I don't know if you guys read outside of DC and Marvel, but absolutely have to get a hold of your hands on this. And
no, James says he's absolutely behind Absolute Wonder Woman. It's his favorite. I love the Ghost Machine stuff. I'm totally with you, Scott. Oh. And the one that I'm actually enjoying is I haven't even read Red Coat yet. It's the Rockefellers. I'm enjoying where they're going with it, right? But it's like I'm waiting for it to give me more. Like, it's almost a bit too safe at this point, and maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the point of it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they're gonna do with all of these characters, right? Because they have Geiger, they have Red Coat, they have
what's the one that Fatbox doing?
Rook, which
right.
Rook is fantastic.
Rook is great.
Artwork is gorgeous. And then they also have Junkyard Joe, who has been like jumping into the stories.
Yeah.
And they have so many characters, and they could. I'm curious to see how they get all these characters together. And it's funny because my Marvelous Tales of Wonder, when I started creating that, after I built out the world in that, I started reading Geiger and all of these other ones for Ghost Machine. I'm like, that's exactly what I'm doing with mine, but I'm keeping it in an anthology instead of with what they're doing with each character having their own series. So
Exactly.
it is really cool. I Geiger and Red Coat are my two favorite. So the Red Coat will blow your mind. It just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, definitely. And J-Man, thanks for joining us. It was a pleasure with your input as well too. He's got a great channel, so please make sure you check out his stuff. Yeah, daily content and all bangers for sure. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting that like there's a lot of stuff going on outside of the big two. Skybound is doing some great stuff with Void Rivals, and the Transformer universe. Um, you know, there's a lot of stuff out there which helps to combat what you're hearing about Diamond and the realities of IDW. It's just, can we get the entire industry to be that strong? That's because then it raises the tides for what we do in the indie scope, right?
Yeah.
Can
Yep,
I sidetrack
absolutely.
us quick? Am I
Please do.
good? Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay. Lightning, I don't know if you saw, just struck and all my power went out for like 3 seconds just now.
Oh wow! Well, we were on Scott for a bit, and then we came back, and
Yeah.
you were frozen. But I thought it
Yes.
might have just been the Wi-Fi. And I know here in Ontario, because we're all in Southern Ontario, there's supposed to be some wicked storms.
It's starting right now. I'm just on my phone's data. That's how I jump back in. I might not be able to stay too much longer.
No worries.
Yeah.
No worries.
It's
Well,
to hit us at 12 o'clock. So I'm not
Yeah,
surprised.
we'll be done
it's
by
hitting
then.
you.
We'll make sure we're done
Yeah.
by then.
I did want to say one quick thing before I
Yeah.
cut out, was back to Absolute quickly, because we're talking about interconnectedness, and I know Skybound's doing their big universe with G.I. Joe, Transformers, all that jazz. It's fun to see them all jump around but still stick to an issue.
Yeah.
And I know Absolute is just a tiny bit doing a little interconnectedness. I don't know if you guys have noticed, because I won't spoil anything, but Superman's got a lot to do with the Lazarus Corporation. That's like that
Yes.
main villain.
Yeah.
Already been referenced just in one speech balloon in Flash. And I'm like, whoa, okay.
Nice.
And, Batman's got his own underground stuff going on. It's cool to see it all jump around in something new. But anyways,
Yeah. I love that stuff.
it's just
I
tiny,
love
eh?
it when
I love it.
Yeah, when it's just foreshadowing to what's coming. That little itty bit stuff.
It's going to be fun.
It's just like Dark Knight's Dark Knight's Metal, when in the Forge, when in his journal he's referencing that metal, and then you realize at the end of the series what's happening, and I'm like, are you fucking
Good stuff.
Yeah,
So good.
and I love the interconnectedness without having to have a cross company crossover.
Yes.
Just let me know that these things are all meshing. I don't need
Yes.
to see every character get one panel every 4 issues, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Exactly.
When it's done well enough that you
just a
can just
slight
enjoy
mention.
what it is. Yes,
Mhm.
just enjoy what it is. You don't have to do all the BS.
Yeah, and it's the world building, and I get it, right? Like they're trying to drive sales and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
but it's the world building that really works. That's
Yeah.
so like you're enjoying Absolute Wonder Woman, but then you're like, oh, it has connections to Flash and Superman and maybe Manhunter or whatever. How do they connect without having to be totally driven or a slave to that story? Because you want to tell different stories. You want Wonder Woman to stay in that lane.
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't want
That's
it
a
to
big one.
become homogenized with anything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, nuts. Speaking of new announcements, and this is one that I didn't see coming at all, was Mad Cave. Mad Cave is coming out with a Racer X book. So Speed Racer fans, we've got a new book coming from Mad Cave, and Mad Cave puts out some pretty decent stuff. And I think they just recently had a talent search of all.
It did. It's actually it's on right now.
Yes. Did you throw your hat in the ring?
Scott and I are both gonna jump in.
Hold on a second. Let me get you there. Put them up again.
Yeah, I got Dark Pyramid.
I just picked it up, but I haven't read it yet.
Yeah. Exit City.
Nice.
I grabbed my sanction.
Sweet.
I there was a fourth book. So you can pick which one you want to read, but I'm like, or which one you want to write for, or write a script for to
Yeah.
send in. And I think I'm gonna
Do
go
Dark
with a
Pyramid.
little.
Yes.
I love the whole conspiracy around the Dark Pyramid and Alaska and all that stuff. So I'm like, I'm gonna jump and do a little bit of that. So
Hmm.
Sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, that one interested me too. I messaged Scott and sent it to him, and I said, Scott, you write the script, send me the script, and I'll draw it. And we can both submit.
Yeah, and what are the it's to do an arc, right? Or is it just a single issue?
It's to, well, it doesn't exactly say, and it actually
Yeah.
it says in the actual description that what you write doesn't mean that that's what you're going to be writing when you,
Of course, that makes
if
sense.
you win, right? So you could be writing for one of those four, but they also said that there's other stories that you might be writing for. So
It's cool.
it kind of opens the door for it. Because Damian Becken had got picked up a couple of years ago. He wrote Worlds Away, but he was picked up for I can't even think of what it was. But he won a couple of years ago, and we had a great chat about it. So he's a fantastic guy. So I should get him on the show.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah. Yeah. So like, just like great stuff's happening, right?
Mhm.
It's just you gotta have your finger on the pulse or know about it.
Yeah.
And so Mad Cave is going into this Speed Racer universe here with A Legacy in the Shadows. Speed Racer X revs up a new chapter. So buckle up. The most enigmatic racer in the Speed Racer universe takes the spotlight in this high-octane, noir-tinged re-imaging from Mad Cave Studios and Tatsunoko Production. So it's great that it's a joint effort. So Mad Cave Studios, a proud partnership with Tatsunoko Production, is still pronounced Racer X. So it's going to be a limited comic series delving into the dark, conflicted world of the master vigilante himself, Racer X. So Mark Russell is going to write it. Nuno Platti is going to be on art, and Buddy Baudouin is going to be on letters. So it'll be interesting to see what it looks like. But the covers are kind of banging.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
are
cover
good.
on the right is wicked.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And those designs were killer in the 60s or whenever that cartoon came out. And they're still on fire.
This is gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pick this up. And I'm not even a huge Speed Racer fan.
No, I you know what? I literally know nothing about it. So, but I definitely gonna check it out. I like that one cover. So I'm a cover guy. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it's sold, eh?
yeah.
That's cool. And like we said earlier, there are a lot of awesome stuff coming out and a lot of potential. But like you said, you've got to kind of be in there to see what's happening and know about it. Because like even I don't pick up much of Mad Cave stuff, but this looks fantastic. You just kind of have to see what's going on and then how they continue with it too.
So September 10th. So September is going to be a pretty interesting month when it comes to comics with that new Batman book, with this one coming out. And here's a synopsis. I'm just going to jack up the. Let me see if I can get to it. Yeah. So in the aftermath of a brutal race, Speed Racer regains consciousness behind the wheel, but the driver's seat is slick with blood, and he has no memory of how it got there. As he spirals into a mystery with global stakes, a shadowy figure watches from afar, Racer X. But is he there to stop Speed or to protect him? In this gripping reimagining, Mark Russell and Nuno Platti cast a noir sheen over the sleek world of Speed Racer as secrets, lies, and racing rivalries collide. So that's pretty cool. Got my money.
Yeah.
These
I like
covers
how
are fantastic, all of them.
Yeah, I like how all four covers are slightly different, like art styles.
Definitely.
Yeah, they didn't stick to just one art style, and which a lot of places do.
Yeah, that one on the right though, What would
Yeah.
that be? That's cover. Is that cover B? Cover B is a poster.
Oh,
without
that's
a doubt.
killer.
Oh yeah.
That's killer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This looks cool.
that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And speaking of, going back to the past, Joe Mad is going back to, he's going back to Marvel, and he's going to do covers for the upcoming, I guess, new Age of Apocalypse saga that Marvel's got going on.
I think it's called X-Men of Apocalypse.
Yeah, I think you're correct.
Yeah.
I know nothing about this, I will say. Marvel has upset me so much lately that I'm not even looking at them. Seriously.
I'm done with you. So Joe
least for
Mad is
now.
X-Men. Yeah, well, it's okay. They have to reprove themselves. That's okay. That's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
So he's going to help usher in a new Age of Apocalypse. So Jeff Loeb's doing the writing. So Simone DeMeo is doing the interiors, and it looks like he's doing the covers, or at least all the variants.
That's cool.
Yeah. So he's definitely one of the ones where it's like, you remember Joe Mad when he came on the scene, because like he kind of took over after Lee, and then for the longest, and Silvestri, and then for the longest time it was people trying to draw like Joe Mad, right? To continue on those books, whether it was like Roger Cruz, and I know Carlos Pacheco had that kind of a look. It was different from Joe Mad's, but it was in that away from Silvestri and Jim Lee's look. And then Carlos just became like an absolute force with his Avengers Forever stuff. So good.
What is the X-Men of Apocalypse? Because I know X-Men right now, because they're doing, what are they doing with X-Men right now? I only know about the Ultimate X-Men stuff, and I know that's been doing really well, but I don't know what's happening with them right now. I know, well, actually, Marvel's doing their Doom, One World Under Doom stuff. Is this right after that? It must be.
Let's see. Age of Apocalypse was a 90s crossover, and so it looks like
it says this September.
Yeah, it's coming up September as well too. September's gonna be great, man.
It'll be a good one.
A 6-part event series. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. It looks like it's gonna be 6 issues, and I want to see if they give you anything.
Yeah.
So, the X-Men of Apocalypse crash into the main Marvel universe. Okay, so it's one of those where you're gonna get the different versions of each character. A dystopian future created when Charles Xavier was killed in a tragic time travel accident. Age of Apocalypse is home to a war-torn group of X-Men led by Magneto. In order to free their Earth from Apocalypse's cruel reign, and fulfilling they were willing to sacrifice their very existence, or so they thought. The main timeline was restored. Apocalypse was defeated, but their world lived on. So this takes place right after the explosive finale. X-Men of Apocalypse reignites the mission of this iconic reality's X-Men as they journey here to ensure their universe's survival. Okay.
That sounds pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
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 Okay. I didn't read the original one. I didn't, I'll be honest.
It was pretty good. It was a pretty good one, because they came and correct me. Did that follow Onslaught? I think that followed Onslaught.
I think it did. Yeah.
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 That's cool. So it's like a rugged kind of, like they said, a war-torn, brutal X-Men kind of look to it.
Yeah. It's kind of like Age of Future Past, but like absolutely turned on its ear, and not that much different than the Absolute universe.
That's what I was gonna say. That's kind of taking a same kind of vibe, because Absolute, at least when they did the first All In, where it was the double comic and you flip it, it was kind of showing those worlds colliding and then pulling apart, and then you got 2 separate stuff going.
That was great, by the way. I totally enjoyed that.
I really liked it. It was cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a great cover, and you can never go wrong with Joe Mad.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a fantastic cover. I love that.
Yeah.
I can stare at that all day. The ink work.
I know.
Yeah, right? The lighting, the ink work.
Everything.
Yeah. So good.
Well, that's going to be cool. I might have to pick that up then. I would like to find an excuse to jump back into Marvel because I tried jumping back in a little while ago, and anyway.
You know, I've been reading Ultimate Spider-Man,
That's good.
Oh,
and
that's great. That's
I
Fantastic.
absolutely love it because I'm finally getting something new with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right? It's totally different story. He's 25 years older than he was when he got bit the first time,
Hmm.
and we have all that background, all the other stuff, but it's not actually part of it, right? Like we were saying, it's just little tidbits. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's I enjoy that. That's the one that I've been picking up.
That was a huge one for him because I didn't pick up the first issue when it came out. And now good luck finding that. So I jumped in just at a random spot, and I was like, this is Spider-Man right now
Yeah.
for me. This is perfect because, and I hope they do this with Batman, is when they just launched that new volume. I think they're on issue 5 or 6 now of Spider-Man. I was gonna pick it up. I remember flipping through the first page, and it was Peter Parker at a job interview, and it was like, I'm Peter Parker. I can't get a job, and I never have time for my social life, and I have to fight bad guys. And I'm like, cool. It's the same Peter Parker I've known for my whole life. But I pick up Ultimate, and I'm like, he's older. There's stuff going on. It's interesting. It's different.
I never thought of it before, but the image just came to my mind. Peter Parker is Charlie Brown, and Marvel is Lucy holding the football. And every time he goes to kick the football, they yank the ball away from the poor boy. And it's like,
Wow.
can I just progress a little bit? Like, can I drink a beer?
Yes. Thank you. Oh my God.
Like, he doesn't have to be destitute. He can, like, there are other ways to, and I understand making him relatable, but I don't understand why he has to be stuck in abject disarray when you can relate to a guy whose parents have been murdered and he's a billionaire and a sociopath who they let raise children because he's got this cool butler. Like, they do stuff with Batman, allow Batman to change, but they don't let Spider-Man change, which is kind of weird.
One
is weird.
cool thing, me and Jay, because I told Jay that Batman was kind of my favorite, and he's like, "Are you psychotic?" Because he's like, Batman is crazy, right? Like and he is. And okay, there's the one rule that he has that he doesn't kill, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that we see in Batman that we like is the fact that we can relate to getting angry and wanting to do something about it. And then you look at Spider-Man is the complete opposite. It's every time I do something bad happens, right? Or it just doesn't work out the way you want it. So I think that that's maybe why Batman and Spider-Man are like the two top ones, right? We can relate so much, and that's probably why they keep throwing us those Spider-Man #1s, because they're hoping to get the kids in high school to pick it up, not you, right? They want those younger kids to pick it up. They're like, oh, this is my Spider-Man, right? But it's all of our Spider-Man. We've read the same thing over. They just can't buy $1 million book back in 1963.
And
So
I totally agree with you, and I think that's why you have the cartoons, and that's why you have the games, right? Like, they're going to get into these characters through the games, through Arkham, through the Spider-Man games, Miles Morales, into the Spider-Verse. Like, that's their gateway. And the people, I don't know many teenagers going into an LCS. Everyone going into an LCS is like 28 plus, right?
Yeah. Well, and you're hoping that from the games that the kids are playing, that they then go to the, like, can I read this? Oh, this is awesome. Right.
Well, they got the Marvel Rivals comics now too, and they're freaking gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read them personally, but I know every kid in the world's playing Rivals, and they might go buy the book, which is cool.
And those character designs are on point too.
Oh, they're so pretty.
Yeah.
To jump back onto what you said earlier, Steve, I don't remember how earlier that was, but bringing back Spider-Man being intelligent, that at least could be cool. In the games, he is, but I understand why they keep bringing that trope in. of Spider-Man, because Spider-Man doesn't have characters like Batman does, where, you know, Batman is getting old, and I like that they're doing that with him. They're making him, he's getting old and he's changing, but you've got Damian Wayne for the younger one, and then you got Nightwing for a whole different vibe for Batman, and Barbara, right? But Spider-Man, it's always Peter Parker, and he's a nerd, and he can't do anything right, and he can't afford his rent ever. I don't even know how he has an apartment, to be honest with you, because he never pays his rent. Seriously. But you're right, we are missing a bit of that intelligence of Spider-Man, because when I open a book, the only thing I know I'm going to get out of Spider-Man is a really cheesy joke that makes me laugh.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm a little pessimistic about Marvel right now. Sorry.
It's all right. Well, I'm going to make you more pessimistic, but maybe not. Maybe one aspect of this will make you pessimistic. But Venom is getting to issue 250, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have a question, because I'm not on the I'm not on the Mary Jane being Venom train. I'm not sure I quite buy that. But with Knull coming back, if he was such a badass and had what's his name? Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
Basically on death's door, how is MJ going to fight this guy?
It's a really good question.
Yes. Like, there's not much that she's going to be able to do. And it wasn't just that. He had his son Dylan also working with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they did it together, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I don't know. I haven't been reading any of it since Donny Cates' run.
Right.
Since
I don't even know how
King
we
in
got.
Black, but
yeah, that's where I kind of ended it too, and I jumped late on the bandwagon. I don't know how we got here with all new Venom. I remember it ending, and then I remember just seeing, oh, there's new Venom, and I was like, whoa, what? And I don't know what's different about it. Is it the same symbiote, or is it a different? It must be the same. I have no clue.
It's, if I remember correctly, after the King in Black, the symbiote left Eddie and merged with Dylan. And then we had a run with Dylan as it.
Yeah.
And then Eddie was bad, I think, at one point.
What?
Or was trying, yeah, and then had another symbiote and was trying to take Venom back. I think. I actually don't know. That's where I kind of started losing interest.
Yeah, I really liked what they were doing with him when they ended it, because it was very nice, like Venom's good now kind of thing, and this like interconnectedness of the universe and all these symbiotes everywhere. I thought it was really cool. And then this kind of popped up, and I wasn't catching up with it, so I don't know if this Venom or this symbiote is strong enough to be dealing with Knull. I don't know.
Well, I'll say that MJ, you know, I'm not sure MJ is going to be able to handle, because Eddie's had years of experience as a Venom, right? So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they write it. But when you think about Venom at 250, it's kind of crazy.
It is.
It is.
It just shows you. It just shows you like the staying power of some of those characters that come out of the Batverse or the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
You know.
Oh, Venom is a staple. I remember growing up with Spider-Man and loving Spider-Man, and when I thought of Spider-Man, instantly thought of Venom. He's just the perfect look, the coolest, one of the coolest villains in my opinion. It's fantastic.
Definitely. And you know, it's amazing what McFarlane's contributions were to the character. I think David Michelinie was writing it at the point, but when you think of the design that came up in Secret Wars, and then you have this new character, and it spawned movies. He's now an anti-hero. You have Carnage that comes from it, Anti-Venom, and now one of Spidey's, you know, core characters is also part of it. So it's kind of weird that in some ways the symbiotes have infected, or at least been attached to 3 people who went to the same high school. It's kind of weird, but MJ, Peter, and Flash, it's kind of weird. So if you went to Midtown High, there's a good chance you're going to, you know, have a symbiote on your ass at some point.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. right? But it'll be interesting to see because Charles Soule, Carlos Gomez, Alec Ewing, and the promotional image looks great. So if it's going to have this
cool.
kind of energy to it, we'll see.
Yep.
We shall see.
I haven't picked up any of them. I haven't really been vibing with it because I was kind of cool with Venom's kind of sort of conclusion. We all knew it was going to keep going, but
Right.
I was kind of cool with it. And then I saw the all new Venom, and I thought this is all right. And then I saw it was MJ, and I was like, interesting. How weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a weird choice.
That's the best way to put it. A weird choice.
Well, I think, of course, Donnie had that accident and hasn't been writing, and
Right.
I think that there was maybe a disconnect. They probably just threw someone in as like, such and such. I need you to write now, right?
Yeah.
And he was probably like, well, I don't know what the plans are, and they're like, we don't care, just write it. So he probably was, yeah. So he was probably just sitting there coming up with whatever, but he only had a certain amount of time, right? So that's maybe what we've got there with with Dylan, and then Eddie Brock, and then now MJ somehow is Venom. So
do we know that correlation with Peter at all? I have no clue what's going on.
Because I haven't, to be honest with you, I've stepped away from Spider-Man for the longest time.
I don't blame you.
The only time they would show Spider-Man, especially like the last series, the only time I ever saw Spider-Man, it was Miles Morales Spider-Man that was talking to Venom, Eddie Brock. That was back in Donnie's run.
Right.
But I don't know if Peter Parker Spider-Man is ever in it as much.
I'm just saying, like, if it's MJ, because I don't think they're together right now. I don't think, but they still know each other.
She's with that dude Paul, which everyone loves.
Yeah, that's right. But still, my question is, I don't know because I don't know if she's not a villain then either, right? It's just Venom doing Venom stuff. I'm gonna have to read it.
Yeah, we'll have to check it out. But I just find it's stuff like this where I'm kind of like, are they running out of ideas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are they like they're shoehorning? Hey. She's already jackpot, right?
That's the other thing too, eh?
So are they gonna have this Venom and Black Cat do like Cable and Deadpool? Is that gonna be a new series? I'm not giving Marvel any ideas, but
That'd be a fun combo. Interesting.
It would be an
next question.
It would be an interesting combo.
Yeah, because I was gonna say MJ's taken like 4 different mantles. I don't even remember what they all have been, but I know Jackpot was one of them. I didn't know. Oh well.
Even Lois Lane doesn't have as many mantles as MJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. And speaking of that, let's go and take a look at Torment, which is McFarlane's issue number 1. It's 35 years this week.
That's crazy.
So cool.
Right? And this book predates Eric.
Yes.
Which is, just shows you how old Scott and I are.
I'm an 01 kid.
By
I
10
feel
years.
the 90s in my veins.
It's all good. 70s kid, so I feel the 60s in some respects, right?
Yeah.
This what predates you by 11 years?
Yes.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. But when you think about it, right? And like this book was one of the ones that set the world on fire and then opened the door for like Spawn to come afterwards. And they really injected like when McFarlane took over this book, he'd already redesigned the webbing. Venom had already come about. And like it was this book and X-Men around that time that had these new relaunches. And there was the different covers, there were some bagged versions, and this book broke records.
Mm-hmm.
It
was in their
would
top
you
sales,
say that
wasn't it? Sorry.
Yeah, I think it was like a million. It was like either a million copies. Let me see. I'm sure though.
I know it was in their like top sales for it. I was listening to a lot of McFarlane interviews in the last couple weeks about it.
First issue. Yeah, right there.
Sold 2.6 million copies.
So cool.
Eclipsed then by Rob Liefeld's X-Force, which was 3.9.
Wow.
And then X-Men #1,
Jim Lee. Yeah.
7.5 million. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Do you think that cover, the Torment cover, is that when they really started doing the variant covers?
Good question.
Yeah, that's
Like,
a great question. That's a great question, actually, because when you think about it, I can't think of many variants, if any, until this one.
Yeah.
When you're hitting sales like that, and there's so many versions of this too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I wondered. I'm like, geez, they sold 2.6 million just on the first issue.
Yeah.
That's got to be due to variant covers, not just the single cover.
Oh, yeah. I think it might have just been the single. So I was listening to a lot of reviews I was listening to a lot of interviews with Todd McFarlane on this and how he kind of jumped into it. Because when he was asked to do it, and I'll try and paraphrase as best I can, but when he was asked to do it, he wanted to change the look so much because Spider-Man wasn't doing anything new at the time, or so he says.
Yeah.
And his main jump in was to make him more of a bug, like make him covered in webs and doing weird like poses and stuff and doing something so different. And sales, I guess, jumped because it was so different. I love how he looks because it's so buggy. It's awesome.
Yeah, he definitely took the character's nature where in the past, it's always been Spider-Man was either upside down, like hanging from a wall, on a wall, crouching, like if you were ever silhouetting characters, you could tell which one was Spider-Man. It might be Nightcrawler, but the tail would give it away.
Yeah.
And then they always played with him being double jointed. I know Romita started that. Ditko had it as well too, where he was very malleable in his the way that his body worked. And McFarlane, I think partly because of how he drew and then how he wanted to remake the character, almost drew him as though he had no skeleton or tendons at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But made for some amazing poses though.
Iconic.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can tell it was a McFarlane just from the posing. And I think that's what made it so cool. And one of my favorite things about it, especially, is, like I said, it's that unnatural, he is a bug, I guess an arachnid, but he's a bug kind of thing, right? And I love that the webs are actually like sticky.
Yeah.
Like, they're all over the place. It's just
they look
awesome.
like goo. They do look like goo.
And that's, if you got a man-sized spider shooting webs, that's what it's going to be like.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
awesome.
Definitely. Yeah, but it's amazing how like you take a book like this for granted, and then it ushered in like absolute crazy sales because it was this kind of stuff that then led to Image, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
If those three books, Spider-Man #1, X-Force #1, and X-Men #1, don't hit the way they do, those guys don't have the leverage to leave.
Exactly, right? That was what it was leverage of like, you guys need us for these huge sales. See you later.
Yeah, it's nuts. And that was back in the day when like the top selling book of today would be threatened with cancellation. Back then, like if you had a book of like 500,000, you're on the low end.
Oh yeah,
because books were like absolutely just moving in the speculator's market and all that stuff too.
And if you didn't have foil, you definitely weren't making the sales.
Oh my god, foil is so true.
That magic word, foil.
And then did they also have the hologram covers too? Where
Yeah. The X-Men had like the little square hologram of the character on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
That was right around the age of Apocalypse, right in that.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, we're coming to the end, but I want to just highlight one last thing. I don't know if you guys are into collectibles or not, but Jay, who is actually on his way traveling to I think it's to a con at this time. He delves in toys quite a bit, and this one caught my eye. And speaking of this, like we're almost like doing a McFarlane send off to end the show. But I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Legendary and DC collabs, toy collab, and it's basically it's DC versus the Monster Universe. And this pack has Superman and Godzilla in it, and
That's wicked.
yeah, it like I was surprised at how cool it looked.
That's pretty cool.
Right? Let me get Godzilla in there so you can see them. So there's the Monsterverse, Godzilla. So that's the sculpt. Let me expand this some more here. So
That'd be a fun fight to watch.
yeah. So there's a Superman. So it's part cloth.
Oh.
Right. So the cape's cloth. I'm not sure I'm feeling the head sculpts.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Especially this one here, the smaller. Oh, this is for a smaller version. I'm not sure I'm feeling that one. And the yelling, but you know.
That is a little odd.
Yeah, the sizing's a little off as well too.
I like
but
the cloth cape.
Yeah, the smaller one I think is to go with Godzilla there. But I do like the sculpt on the Godzilla.
Yeah,
yeah, good.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Huh.
I may have to get that.
Oh, geez.
Right. This is a great shot.
Hayden
That's
might
cool.
Hayden might kill me if I don't.
So I think it's ready for pre-order. And can you guys see this on screen?
Let's find out.
Yeah.
Yep. Wait, is the cape cloth?
Posable. It's cloth, but
it's
posable.
Posable. That's freaking cool.
Okay.
I'm in for that. I was gonna say it's a pretty nice cape if it's just cloth. That is cool.
Yeah.
Dude,
and so this is courtesy of McFarlane Toys.
Yep. Always killing it with
pretty
the toys.
Cool. Yeah.
Sculptable cape is what has sold me. That's freaking awesome.
Right.
That's a fun one, especially for Superman, because the pose for Superman is that's the killer, eh? You need a good Superman pose.
That's cool.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's a like it was interesting. I wasn't expecting that level of detail and whatnot. But I will say that the cape is cool, and it was just for me. My only drawback is the head sculpt. I'm not quite sure I'm feeling the face.
Yeah, it doesn't feel much of a Superman.
Was there a Batman and King Kong one too?
Oh, let me go back and check.
I swear I saw one sitting there.
Huh.
McFarlane Toys. Let's see. I'm gonna let me pull it up because I know there's also a new Spawn. There's a Spawn statue.
Yes, I did hear about it.
My internet's just quite slow right now. I guess whatever. Oh, there we go. Let me share it, and we'll have some fun taking a look at this.
I want to see the new Spawn one too, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm going to show it to you right now.
Cool.
This one.
I think I know which one it is.
Yeah, so this is what we were looking at with the pre-order.
Awesome.
So cool.
So you wanted to see if there was a Batman. If there was a Batman Kong. Well, this looks like that's Scott Campbell. So let me see here. Go back to this. You'll see the Spawn, I guess, one of that. So that looks pretty cool.
Oh, that's freaking awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah, let's check this out, and then we'll check out Batman.
Give me Dracula vibes. What's going on here?
Right?
I want Spawn to have the sculptable cape,
That would be fun.
right? That's
I wonder if he
yeah.
has had it. Interesting. That is very Dracula of him. What's going on right now?
Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Look at that.
That is awesome.
Dude, that's so cool. I was listening to some interviews about his toys too, because his main focus was, why can't toys be what you see in the movies, right? Where it looks just like the character and they can move around like how you want them. Like a sculptable cape is freaking awesome. I did not expect that. And it's so simple. Why not, right? This is
Absolutely.
a cool statue though. Man, I'm gonna have to get back into my statue purchasing era. Oh no.
It's pretty good.
Inspired by Greg Capullo.
Yeah,
Cool.
it does look that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah, it actually says inspired by Greg Capullo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And so, were there any other DC and Monster ones then? Was that based on a comic series, or is that just a toy thing?
I think they had a mini series, and I know they're doing it through with Legendary.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I think it's part of the Legendary because I think they're both Warner Brothers, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool.
DC. I think it's part of the DC. I think it's part of DC Multiverse. So let's see what we've got.
Huh.
I don't remember seeing anything for Batman Kong, but you might be right that it was there. But I know this is up for pre-order.
Okay. I swear I saw there was 4 boxes across the bottom right before you closed it, and it you could see Batman and Kong.
So Batman versus Kong.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
You're right. I'm just doing it now, and you are correct. Wait a second. Gotham actually is carrying it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this might have been a previous one. So let me go to it. So this one must have come out before. Why am I not getting anything here? Yes, you did see it correctly.
But it was a previous release, most likely.
Yeah, it looks. Yeah, because So let me see. Here we go. Okay, yeah. There we go. So we can find it. There we go.
There it is. Yeah.
Interesting scale.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they have the mini. Yep.
Oh yeah, they have it too.
Okay.
And they have a stand.
Now is his cape sculptable?
That's interesting. If it is,
That's a good question. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
No. This is definitely a previous release. Then, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I wonder what the Batman.
Oh
Batman
no.
feels...
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's.
Yeah.
I think it pretty much is what it is.
This is like a very generic Batman in my eyes.
Yeah.
Especially seeing the new reboot.
Yeah.
Or redesign for Batman #1. Yeah.
Like this looks like if you asked anybody if they don't read comics, like what does Batman look like? That's what they would tell you. They'd be like, that's Batman.
Yeah.
It's a very, That's pretty cool anyway.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, gentlemen, it was a pleasure chopping it up with you. I had a great time going over some of the news of the day and also checking out your stuff. Where can we find you? And where can anyone who's looking to pick up your books, where can they find them?
Scott, go ahead.
Okay. Space Dump that just released, or pre-orders are up. You can go to Studio Comics. I think it's studiocomics.com. And click on the triple lines and go into indie comics, and it's in there. It's a new release. Pre-orders are $15, and once it hits once pre-orders are done, it's $20. So if you want to get your copy, get it now. And then Cereal Box Time Machine 1, 2, and 3, and Marvelous Tales of Wonder 1, 2, and 3 you can get at Capcan Comics. You can also get it at Studio Comics. All 6 of them are available. And then not yet, but soon, we will have Monster of the Abyss in both of those stores with Sleepy Joe. And then wherever you see my table, I'll have books at my table. Eric will have books at his for Monster of the Abyss. And you can follow me on Instagram, scott.wojcik 1014, and trying to think what else I got. Oh, Instagram's
CBTM.
the one that, yes. Oh, it's CBTM Comics on Instagram.
Nice.
For myself, so I've got 2 series, The Flooded Planet Overflow and Wendy and the Sprite, which have been kind of on a hiatus for a bit as I've been doing anthologies. So all of my stuff is through Olcsvary Comics. That's ALLS, cherry like the fruit, comics. So olcsvary.com, you can see everything I've got. So ALLSCHERRY.com. That's all my events. That's the new anthology coming out. That's any new releases. The whole 9 yards are on there. So we do have a new anthology coming out for August. And then I have my newest book, Flooded Planet Overflow 2, which just finished production this week. So for all pre-orders that have already been gone through, they'll be shipping hopefully by next week. And I'm looking to get this printed for Gotham Central when the 3 of us will be there at the Summer Bash at the end of the month. So I want these ready to go. Yeah, so this is my portfolio. These are actual original pages for Monster of the Abyss, and the cover as well. So yeah, you can find all my stuff at allscherry.com. Instagram is Olcsvary Comics, and Gray Metal _art. Gray Metal is kind of my handle for my own personal work. But yeah, new book Overflow is coming out, and then I've got more on the go for the rest of the year that I have yet to release. But definitely, I'm so friggin' excited to get this done. It is like all hand drawn. I can't wait. Thank you again.
Awesome. Gentlemen, I had a fantastic time chopping it up. You're always welcome back to the Asylum. For those of you who are going to be in the Mississauga or the GTA area, the 3 of us will be at Gotham Comics and Collectibles, Gotham Central Comics and Collectibles in Mississauga on Amico Drive for their annual June Bash. It's going to be a blast. There's like 40 artists,
so many people,
wrestlers. Carlos and Claire run a great event. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you want your fill of comics, people drawing, wrestlers, vintage cars,
new comics.
Yeah, you know, that's the place
comics.
to be. New comics, old comics. There'll be a barbecue. So please come by, check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then you can meet Eric and Scott and myself in the flesh. But gentlemen, once again, thanks again. Stay safe, and we'll see you all in 7.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, bud. Later.